Right, it's Tuesday, 21st of May.
Yep.
And we have bought a strip of neoprene rubber, which is fairly soft, with the idea of fitting it along the subdeck here, something for the O-ring to press down on. Whether this will be any better or not remains to be seen.
Yeah, the hope is that, like any gasket, it would just fill any minor imperfections on the surface there and create the necessary seal for the bits that are leaking up here and one to other places.
It looks as if it will accommodate itself round the bends of the hull along its length, but of course then we've got to do some kind of mitre joint going around these corners, and that's going to be a possible source of leakage in itself.
That will still also leave the potential leakages around a couple of these screws as well, and certainly where the electrical gland goes through the deck. But if we can seal that one, then we can perhaps then move on to dealing with the others. Now, right up this end here,
We've got chances of getting it to stay in the right place everywhere.
Well, once it's there, it only goes down because there's no room to slide because the deck just fits in here.
Yeah,
so it's
well, ultimately, we'd have to stick that down, wouldn't we? Otherwise, it's never going to stay there by itself.
Oh yes, yeah. Yeah, what we don't want to do is to affect its ability to merge and absorb any imperfections in the surface underneath it on the deck.
Yes. If we just put some silicone sealant all the way around and then put this down on top of it, and then bolted the deck down and then let it set,
yes,
that would do it, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Right, so Dick is just talking down the deck with this black rubber strip in place, or neoprene rubber strip in place.
It's in there. And the tap side
The gauge is always upside down. You can hear it pumping it up.
Still leaking around here.
Do you want the fairy liquid?
Oh no, I can hear it's leaking without any fairy liquid.
Well, let me keep pumping now.
How do we know it's the seal there leaking and not some fracture in where the subdeck meets the side of the hull?
Well, because there isn't any obvious fracture.
Well, because it's leaking stuff, it hasn't worked. Bottom line, we don't need that.
You don't want any fairy liquid on here.
Well, there's no point because it's not. It's certainly not fixed that. Did you want to see?
Don't we want to see whether it's fixed everything else?
Oh right. Okay.
Don't you think so? I think that says PSI. So I can't get it to more than 5 PSI.
These Dougherty seals seem to be doing what they're.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing that we haven't made, so. It probably is going to work. So, I mean, we could put a layer of silicon sealant all the way around.
Underneath the strip.
You want to leave the strip there, do you?
I think so, otherwise it's going to stick to the deck.
So what we're going to do is try and make this rudder a little bit longer. by sticking a piece on the bottom by some means.
Some means that will involve gaffer tape. Well, have you got some stainless strips and more of these?
No, but I could make some.
What about the fixings? That
I might have some of those.
let's cut the shapes first.
Yep.
And then decide how to fix it. Have you
Okay.
got it?
Perhaps it should be the other way around, shouldn't it? Like that, yes. Then it'll look more satisfactory. Well, we can't have it. It's got to be coplanar, hasn't it? I mean, we could cut the bottom of that, the existing rudder, off straight and then meld them together.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking. Oh, we're extending the rudder by shortening it, so to speak. We've got the additional bit marked out there.
What we've got is too much junk and not enough bloody space anywhere. Anyway. Far too much junk.
You have to get your workshop tidied up a bit, Peter. At least you've got a workshop. Right, I'm doing a slight change to the adjustment to the keel, because having thought about it, I felt it would be good to test it if it's more raked, and as we have plenty of potential to slide using the aluminium profile, to slide the weight further back along this track. We could do that, and then we can rake the keel a bit further back. Not certain whether that will be an improvement or not. We won't know till we test it. It could bring the weight too far to the stern. But certainly a lot of the other boats that are made have quite a raked keel to avoid getting caught on weed and any other debris there is floating. So it would be good to add a bit more rake to this just in case that improves things. Peter's just iced his cake.
So we've got some silicone sealant on the underside of the neoprene rubber. This is sort of one-tailed strategy piled on top of another.
Yeah.
Right
now, this lower edge needs turning sticky side down and laying on the edge nearest to me.
Yes.
And then my edge that I've got hold of will come over towards you. So are you able to twist that, or might you want to start in the middle?
How do I know where the middle is?
Well, just approximately where it's hanging the lowest. Twist it over. Lay it on there. Just lay it gently.
All right. Why have we got that there then?
Because that should be up a little bit further to fit over that hole you were just pointing to. Isn't it? Oh no, hang on.
Cannot be right, can it? Because
no, all right, that's wrong.
This is the wrong one.
Right. That's a good start. Perhaps it's round this side then.
This one is going over this.
It needs to go further towards the
What I can tell you is I've got silicone sealant all over my hands. So you want some Vaseline now, do you? Yeah. So, Dick has moved the bottom of the keel, what, 1.5 inches astern?
north
than that.
So we moved it 2 inches astern.
Yeah.
And unfortunately that right hand piece of aluminium is not quite long enough now.
Bit of tape.
Yeah.
Bit of tape will do.
Right, so that's the new rudder, which has been extended by 3 inches or so.
Yeah.
And new rake on the keel, which is about 2 inches further back. Yeah. And we can't take the deck off now because we've got silicone sealant curing underneath, so we'll take that off tomorrow and see what happens. This is a new hull that Dick has found.
Well, in fairness, it's one that Roger made, but...
So what does that look like inside then?
Alright.
It's got a bloody great hole in the middle of it.
And underneath.
Yeah.
Needs a bit of work on it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's boat 2. And what's the name of that going to be?
Woodstock 2.
So it is the next day, and the silicone sealant, don't stand in front of it, is set underneath the black neoprene strip. So we now got to test it. And you want to do all these things up even more than you did before, do you?
Well, only.
Yeah. All right. Yes, you can do that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll let you off. They're not that tight, but these are pretty tight down here, though. Yeah. Let's just do them up in a normal way, and then we'll test it with sucking first and then blowing. Right. So Dick has decided to be scientific, and he's got my torque wrench. And what have you set it to?
Well, what it's currently set to. Let's. I think this is doomed to fail.
Yeah, because
it's too high a torque it works to.
So in fact we're not torquing them that tight, are we?
No, it's right to the. It's right.
Right at the bottom, which is 25 or 15 foot-pounds or something like that.
Well, it's roughly. I mean, it's 10 to 15. It's very hard because it's gone off the scale.
Right, the scale starts at 20 foot-pounds.
Yeah, and I would say that's probably more like 10.
Yeah. Okay. So we can't do that. No. You'll just have to use your Mark 1 wrist. Right. So you're going to suck now to start off with.
This would leak if you rotated it, would it?
Afraid so. I'll put my ear down here. Can't hear a thing. No, it's not leaking yet.
But the pressure's not going down.
Well, you're pressing it. You're supposed to be. It sucks on the pull.
That's handy. But I'm looking at the dial.
Yeah.
So if you watch the dial.
Yeah.
It draws air in.
Coming in somewhere, isn't it?
It's probably coming in through here.
Could be.
Right, so it's a matter
So
of...
shall we try blowing then? Because we can't. Anyway, at least it's not hissing on here. So shall we try blowing?
Yeah. So you'll need to reverse this, wouldn't you?
Goes the other way. you want me to do this?
Well, let's pump and see what we hear first
All right.
of all, and then
Look, this is loose here for a start.
is the pressure increasing?
No, it's just going up to
Up and
going
down.
up by about 5 psi. Yes.
Right.
I mean, why is it coming out of here? Is it coming out of here? Doesn't even seem to be coming out of there now. I think it's leaked to somewhere else.
Perhaps it's sealed itself up with dry clear liquid.
Right, Dick is pumping vigorously, and it only seems to be coming out, if at all, on that's this point here. But it's not. See, the thing that's worrying me is it's not even leaking from the cable gland, is it? It's not leaking here,
No, no.
and it was yesterday, and we haven't touched that. We've done nothing to make that better.
Have we got the pump thingy right?
I don't know.
What do these do?
Well, that just disconnects. So that needs to be open, and that needs to be open.
Is it open?
It is open, yes. So let me have a feel.
It's dropping instantly back to
Yes.
the ambient one. I was just trying these cracks in the gel coat to see if they're...
I'll tell you one thing we've got.
What?
We haven't got the rudder shaft in. So we've got a sodding great hole here.
Yes. There we go.
So if you want to
Put my finger over
put
that.
your finger in the dike,
Yeah, go on.
oh, now it's leaking here, which is where
Right.
it should be. I still can't get it up very far, but
Bubbling.
we're getting it to
Yeah.
better.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And look, it's going here now, and here,
And here round the little...
and round that
this
little
one.
thing, yes.
God knows why, because we couldn't see anything.
So we put the rudder shaft back in to block up that source of leak.
So just to run through those,
Yeah,
it's here,
yeah,
here,
yeah,
here,
yes,
all in the coaming. The gland here,
yeah. That's not a problem.
this
We just
coaming
get rid of
edge
that.
here,
Yes,
and just a little bit round this screw here.
yes. Well, shall we just try selectively tightening these?
Could do, yeah.
It's leaking here, so if I tighten these two,
Yep.
Vaseline worked. Conclude from that by looking carefully at it. The question is there any water coming through on the inside of this black strip? Isn't it?
It doesn't appear to be.
Well, that's the main point where it was leaking up there, isn't it? So,
There's no evidence of it there. But
how
we
is
know
this
it was
bloody
leaking.
scupper leaking then? You can see that the white silicon O-ring is pressing down and turning the black rubber strip into a V shape, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, where is
It's not pressing it down.
How is it leaking here with all that silicone sealant, etc.?
It's very hard to see.
Given that we have a bloody great hole here where we can see that the gel coat and stuff on the outside is, and there's an air gap before the fiberglass down there, can't we?
Yeah, yeah.
So there is the possibility that actually this seal is not leaking at all, but what's happening is that air is going through the fiberglass anywhere and then coming up between the fiberglass and gel coat to there, where it just happens to come out.
What about if we wedge some blue tack in there? Let's see whether that...
What about if we
also
just watch this more carefully and to see whether it was actually coming out of... But then it's also coming out here, wasn't it? It was coming out here.
And along this edge along here.
Yeah.
We're getting some evidence of it. Maybe it's just not going to be possible to get an absolute seal.
Perhaps not.
Which means we then need to think about some kind of bilge pump arrangement.
So we're going to put some sealant where?
Down the between the coaming and the rubber
Along
strip.
here, because we thought that it might be leaking actually through the wood here, and along here a bit. Unfortunately that is too big a hole, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Have we got a... We haven't got another nozzle?
No, I haven't.
Okay, right.
It looks neat, that's all I can say. You actually need to let it... Alright, maybe you don't. I was going to say you need to let it... what do they call it? Gel.
Skin over.
Yeah. You need to leave it kind of 5 minutes. Otherwise you just get it all over your fingers. Anyway, it looks beautifully neat. That's all I'm very happy with that.
And there's this 45-degree fillet.
It's
about what you wanted.
UL approved by me.
Right.
It's amazing how a finger is so much better than anything else for smoothing out silicone. Not that this is actually isn't silicone, it's hybrid polymer sealant. Ultimate long-term performance.
Bet its ingredients are silicon.
Developed for structural marine applications.
Right.
Geobond Marine. Right, well Dick is going to fill up some of these holes that we've found on the outside of the hull. Just holes in the gel coat basically, but with this kind of air gap behind them. I'm going to fill those up and then I'm going to put some more gel coat on the top afterwards when it's set. So 3 little holes that we found, not going right the way through. But they just showed up as spots of light if you looked at the hull from the inside against the sun. Right, well it's Friday. I've left this sealant 2 days to set properly. This is based upon the theory that the O-ring seal was never leaking in the first place, but maybe the leak is coming up through the structure of the boat. This is not an ideal way of fixing it, if that is so, because we're putting sealant on top of something where the air is coming out from underneath, which is not a very practical way of sealing, but we'll see. I got fed up with this pressure gauge because it was always upside down, we couldn't read it. In any case, it's very unreliable. So I've used this electronic one, which I had all the time, but I couldn't find a satisfactory coupling from whatever it is to BSP. But it seems to be all right now, and it shows, it gives us a graph as well as the actual pressure. So that's 0.61 bar going down gradually. We'll prime it with fairy liquid in these areas here, which are ones we're trying to test. I can just get it up to 0.4 bar. Yeah, it's definitely above 0.4 bar, and it crashes down to 0.2 bar. It's sticking at 0.2 bar. Now what was actually happening, I was too busy pumping. We're still getting something coming out of there, and still getting something coming out of here, and still getting something coming out of there. And you can clearly see that it's coming out here and here. Well, this it might do anyway, because we didn't address, and it's obviously coming out along here. We didn't address that, but we did address this, and we did address this, and it's still leaking there. Well, I don't know. I'm losing the will to live here. I think I'll probably put that white sealant all the way around the edge of the hull, just as a precaution, and we'll just have to make do with that for the meantime. It's clearly not satisfactory, but maybe when we do the next test at Western, we'll see how much water gets in with these new seal arrangements. I am conscious that however good a seal we have, with this pump I can probably burst the seal. So maybe the test is a bit too demanding. Let's hope so. Anyway, thanks for watching.